Yorkshire Solder Ring Solutions. Preparation. First, select the correct size of tube and fitting for the job. Ensure that both are clean, in good condition and free from damage and imperfections. Cut the tube square using a rotary tube cutter wherever possible. Deburr tube ends both externally and internally using an S120 deburring tool from the Express accessories range. Clean the inside of the fitting socket and the outside of the tube with a Yorkshire cleaning pad, fine sandpaper or steel wool. For chrome-plated copper tube. Solder will not bond to chrome plates, so you'll need to remove the chrome plating using a coarse emery cloth followed by fine sandpaper. Jointing solder ring joints. Using a suitable brush, apply adequate but not excessive flux to both the outside of the tube and the inside of the fitting socket. Do not use your finger. Insert the tube into the fitting until it reaches the tube stop, then wipe off any excess flux. Heat the assembled joint until a complete ring of solder appears at the mouth of the fitting. Allow the joint to cool without disturbance. Clean the joint generally, wiping off any external flux residues and flush out the pipework. Jointing wedge ring joints. Using a suitable brush, apply adequate, not excessive, flux to the tube end, the jointing surfaces of the tapered ring and socket of the fitting. Do not use your finger. Slip the wedge ring onto the tube with the thinner edge towards the fitting and push the tube into the fitting up to the tube stop. Press the ring as far as possible into the mouth of the fitting by hand. Using the AT1 assembly tool, unscrew the nuts and open the tool. Place the tool on the fitting and tube, ensuring the captive part engages the shoulder of the fitting. Ensure the sliding part of the tool is free to engage the exposed face of the wedge ring, then completely close both halves of the tool. Screw both nuts hand tight, then using an open-ended or good quality adjustable spanner, tighten the nuts alternately, exerting an even pressure on the wedge ring until it's been pressed home. Do not use excessive force. When pressed home, the wedge ring should be flush or a little below the level of the mouth of the fitting. Unscrew the nuts, remove the assembly tool and repeat for the remaining ends of the fitting. Heat the joint using a blow lamp with a flame of generous proportions or an air gas blowtorch. Heat each joint separately around the fitting socket and where the tube enters the fitting, taking care not to concentrate the flame at one point. Continue heating until complete rings of solder appear between the tube and the tapered ring, and between the tapered ring and the fitting. The appearance of these two rings of solder are proof of a sound joint. When the tolerance between the tube and fitting is such that the outer end of the tapered ring is below the mouth of the fitting, the two solder rings may join together. Allow the joint to cool without disturbance. Clean the joint generally, wiping off the external flux residues. Flush out the pipework. Jointing general high-duty joints. Cut the tube square using a hacksaw with a fine-toothed blade. General high-duty fittings require the use of a silver brazing alloy flux. We recommend Degussa H from the Yorkshire range. Adjust the oxy-acetylene mix until a neutral flame is achieved, then back off on the oxygen to give a reducing flame. Keep the flame moving whilst heating the fitting to avoid localised melting. Continue until a complete ring of solder appears around the socket mouth. Repeat this method for each joint in turn. Allow the joint to cool without disturbance. Clean the joint generally, wiping off any external flux residues and flush out the pipework. The advantages of Yorkshire fittings. Each Yorkshire fitting contains the correct amount of lead-free solder to make a perfect joint. There are over 600 items including line fittings, valves, heating components, waste fittings and traps. Yorkshire fittings are available in sizes from 6 to 108 mm. Yorkshire fittings are manufactured from copper or copper alloys to EN 1254 Part 1. Yorkshire fittings are RAS approved, and Yorkshire fittings come with a 25-year guarantee.